Morning, everybody, and welcome to the January 19th Board of Adjustments and Appeals. My name's Larry Otterback. It's a little bit after 9 o'clock, and we are now in session. We have 6 cases before us today. The procedures for all 6 are going to be the same. Here in a minute, I'm going to swear staff in. Gretchen is going to read the case. Staff is going to come to the podium and give us a staff report. There'll be a round of questioning by board members to staff, and when we're done with that, staff's going to take a seat. I'm going to call the applicant forward. You're going to come forward, come to the podium, and raise your right hand, state your name and address, and be sworn in. Justify your case. Make sure you speak directly into the microphone. Things are being recorded and cameras are pointing to mics, so make sure you're here at the podium speaking into the microphone. When you are done justifying your case, there will be a round of questioning by board members to the applicant. And when we're done with that, the applicant may take a seat. I'm going to call forward anybody that wishes to speak in favor of the application, and then those opposed. It's going to be the same process. You'll come forward, raise your right hand, be sworn in, state your name and address, tell us why you're in favor, tell us why you're opposed. There'll be a round of questioning by board members to that audience. And when you're done with that, you may take a seat. There'll be a time for rebuttal if there's any opposition, and then final statements. Once we're done, I'm going to close the floor, open it up for general discussion, and take a up and down motion for approval or deny. Okay? Let's, cell phones. Make sure cell phones are turned off or on vibrate. If you need to take a call, please excuse yourself from the courtroom. Just make sure it's off when you come back in. Board members, make sure your mics are on, and let's swear staff in.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. And Gretchen, if you would please read the first one.
OC docket 23-001, an application has been filed requesting a conditional use permit for a detached accessory dwelling unit recreational camp located at 6100 Old LaGrange Road, Crestwood.
Morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Ryan Fisher, Senior Planner with Oldham County Planning Development, 100 West Jefferson in LaGrange. So as Ms. Chetwood stated, this is for a detached accessory dwelling unit and farm stay project at 6100 Old LaGrange Road in Crestwood. R2 zoning, the parcel itself sits on 6.59 acres. No previous site history to note of. Adjoining property owner notices were mailed on the 1st of January, and a public notice appeared in Oldham Era on the 12th. Aren't seeing anything?
No, we're not.
All blank.
There we go, we got it.
It's back.
All right. So here's the parcel in question. The owners of this property, I will note, also own this larger adjoining property here, and then also the adjoining one over here as well, just to note that. R2 zoning, once again, as I stated earlier, and then here are the current structures at 6100 Old LaGrange Road. So the applicant is requesting a conditional use permit for accessory dwelling units on their 6.59 acre tract. So the applicant is proposing to build 1 to 4 detached accessory dwelling units, farm stays, on the property using stacked containers. And they provided 2 different design options, which those were in your packet. We'll also see them here in just a second. Section 250-040E, number 1, states that a detached accessory dwelling unit may only be allowed after the approval of a conditional use permit. So therefore, why we're here today. The applicant does meet all of the remaining regulations listed in section 250-040, and I wrote in here that they shall ensure the placement of the containers meets those minimum setbacks of primary structures in R2 zoning. She really, initially when she came in, didn't really know the placement of where they're going to be, so she understands that they do have to maintain the 7 feet side yard setback and 25 feet in the rear, which she won't have a problem doing. So she does know that. And then just an additional note, recreational camps are also allowed as a conditional use in the R2 zoning area. And you can see the little snippet that I took out of our regulation there showing recreational camps and resorts. Here is her original site plan that she provided us showing the location of these 4 different ADUs. I have had some conversations with her since that they may be looking, initially she's really just going to do 1, up to maybe 4 down the road. Right now she's saying maybe just 1 to 2, but it's all going to kind of depend on septic in that matter. So yeah, so she may have a little bit more to bring to on that when they come up. So here are a couple of those design options that they're looking at. This first one being a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, built with 3 40-foot containers. And another picture. And then the second design option being a 1-bedroom with a pull-out sofa and 1 bath with 2 containers. And here's just a couple views of the property. This is the main house that they live in. There's not any really good pictures I can give you of where they're looking at putting this because it's pretty far back. We did get one taken, but it was nothing but a bunch of branches and trees, so I didn't think that was going to be very beneficial for you. So just a couple views down Old LaGrange Road for you. So the applicant is requesting a conditional use permit for detached accessory dwelling units, farm stays located at 6100 Old LaGrange Road. Potential conditions of approval: the conditional use permit shall only apply to the plans considered here today at the January 19th, 2023 Oldham County Board of Adjustments public hearing. And that approval for a sewage disposal system from Oldham County Health Department will be required prior to the issuance of any building permits. And other than that, that's all I have on this one.
Thank you, Ryan. Do we have any questions for staff?
Ryan, Dale. There it is. They don't have a permit from the health department yet?
Not as of yet. He's planning to come out there. He was going to try to here, but the holiday on Monday sort of prevented him. So that's why I wanted to throw that in there to be sure that all of that's going to be obtained before they get any sort of permits.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, and that's standard procedure that's done at the permit.
Ryan, what's the regulation about ADUs being subordinate to the primary structure?
So they've got to be 25% of the primary structure. They've got to be in the rear. They've got to abide by the primary setbacks, which is what I threw in there that makes sure she knows that those have to be 7 feet. But they can't be any more than 25% of the primary dwelling, and they're not
Okay.
anywhere close. So they meet all those regulations in there other than needing the conditional use permit.
And as far as the number of structures, what's the regulation on that?
Well, so that number applies to the just accessory structures, right? Okay, yeah, so the accessory dwelling units, it doesn't, so that regulation has to do with accessory structures, barns, things without living space.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Ryan?
This is a little bit different because there will be more than one proposed, up to 4, and it's more like a recreational camp. And I don't see how the square footage requirement applies to a number of them. You know what I'm saying? So this is, because they're going to have more than, typically we see only one ADU on a piece of property. And this is proposed as the farm stay, and we don't have anything in our regulations about farm stays, so we look at, is this like a recreational camp? And we're going to see another one next month that's very similar. But, you know, that's kind of where we have interpreted our regulations. I didn't bring the book up. Do you have So it's a little bit different in terms of the square footage because...
Jim, if you would speak a little closer, people are having trouble hearing you.
Sorry, I thought I was in there, but I can't hear myself, so appreciate it.
Those gentlemen in the back move forward if they can't hear back in the back of the...
Well, and, you know, there's...
Our speakers
because of
don't
the
work back
fans,
there
if
very
you
well.
want to hear, you
Anyway.
really do need to move up. The fans back there just make it very difficult to hear. I've sat back there myself, and... Ryan, I'm not having, let's see, well, anyway, rather than me trying to find it, I'll sit down and find it. But again, this is more than one
Right.
ADU.
Right, so what is the purpose of the regulation that we have, the 25%, the ADU being subordinate to the primary structure? Why do we have that regulation?
Well, that was done when we were getting requests for accessory dwelling units for different purposes. Aging parents, people who are caring for children who might have special needs. And that regulation was created then, and the reason that it's 25% is because ultimately when fiscal court was reviewing the regulations, they didn't want them to become just an additional rental unit that anybody could live in and create a problem, so they restricted the size so they would remain smaller as opposed to building two houses on one lot.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, thanks. All right, any more questions for staff?
Is the 4 the limit? You were talking earlier about the number of dwellings. Is 4 the absolute limit that would be allowed on the size of a lot?
So Gretchen, while they're looking for that, that would be a condition of approval or something to ask the applicant, you know, what is the intent, and if approved, we can restrict it to 4. Those fans are loud.
Take off.
Yeah. Good? Okay, okay. Well, so Gretchen, did you, was that a question for Ryan?
Yes.
Okay. So the 4 comes with the recreational campground. So we've really got it worded that they're asking for an accessory dwelling unit, meaning 1, okay? But it's more a recreational camp, which will allow them to have more than the 1. So if we want to reword that to be,
Yeah, we overlooked this, quite honestly. It's not the applicant's fault, it's ours. Can you put on the overhead? Which one of these buttons do we push? I always get confused by that. So, in the R2 zoning classification, again, we
Hang on,
don't...
Jim. There we go. All right, go
There it
ahead.
is.
If you could bring it in focus just a little bit. There you go. Thank you.
So this really is like a recreational camp resort, although that's not their purpose. This is for farm stay, and that's a whole different program. The applicant can explain, I'm sure, on what the farm stay program in Kentucky is. So it really doesn't fit in a recreational camp, but yet when you have more than one ADU, really that's what they're kind of doing. As you know, we don't have a listing for every single use in,
Right.
especially when new things come up. So this is really where we probably should have told them to request, and I hope that you would consider doing this, if you're considering approving these ADUs, that they get a CUP for a recreational camp as well.
Okay.
And I apologize for that. We had a meeting with the applicant and a couple conversations, and we just,
So I'm sorry, then you're suggesting if we do move to approve this, you're suggesting 2 motions, one for a CUP for a recreational camp and the second for the ADUs?
that's correct.
Okay.
I may have missed it. Is the limit 4, or is it just based on square footage, or?
It's based on their desire They say 1 to 4, depending on how it goes. So they've asked for up to 4, and it's not based on square footage at all,
Okay.
What's not based on square footage?
their request.
Okay.
Understand.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, if we can have the applicant come forward. Good morning. And if we can get her sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
And state your name and address, please.
Jessica Wuchterl, 6100 Old LaGrange Road, Crestwood, Kentucky, 40014.
Okay, Jessica, if you could justify the project, tell us, you've heard some of the questions, so if you could fill in some of the blanks and justify the project.
Yeah, we have done short-term rental in our current home, and it's been...
Get to the mic, please.
Okay. Short-term rental in our current residence, and I had with much success on the property, and sharing our farm and our property has been a complete joy of mine. So I want to share more of it, but I also want to keep my primary residence my primary residence. So this opportunity allows us to offer farm stays on the property, maybe even some education opportunities in the county and the city as far as farm, the popularity of farming and what that may provide for city people that want to vacation in different areas. So we have, exploring this option to build smaller homes on the property for short-term rental.
Okay.
Yep, I'm registered with the farm stay organization now, so I'll be keyed into other farms that do this around the country too. So, yep.
Okay. Okay, questions for Jessica?
You'll be advertising. Is this going to be something that'll be a Airbnb type thing, or?
We'll probably start out on Airbnb, potentially, build our own website and maybe market ourselves. But right now, to start out, will definitely just be Airbnb.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
For my purpose, can you explain farm stay just in general? What is it? What separates that from a recreational camp?
It's, location, and then we offer riding horses. We offer the kids to pick fresh farm eggs, different farm activities that they do that we provide for them as like an experience. Mm-hmm. And that's basically it. We were, through COVID, it's been extremely demanding because people want to swim and they want to, go to a farm and have some freedom and space and aren't in the city. So that's where we cater to.
Is it your intent to limit this to up to 4?
We will not have more than 4. Yeah, 4 is the max. Yeah, because it's still our primary residence, so I don't want to share too much of it.
Okay. Other questions? Jessica, the property around it, I understand you own. We were shown this image. Ryan, could you put this back up, please? Thank you, Ryan. So the subject property is 6.59 acres. It was presented to us that you also own the surrounding property.
Yep.
I've lost the signal. Yeah. So have you considered consolidating some of the property to expand this operation?
I don't expect to do that because we have horses and animals on probably about 12 to 13 of the total 25. And that, if I take that away, it's not really a farm stay anymore. So, and then the other property is more for our walking and, you know, other things that we like to enjoy. So no, I don't
So-
expect.
When you said a total of 25 acres,
Yep.
what, in this picture here, what is included in the 25 acres? You see
All three tracks.
all three, so
Yep.
it's 6050, that lot.
Yep.
And then the subject lot we're talking about now, outlined in red, which is 6100. And then, I don't even see, but the wooded
The
area
wooded
as
area
well.
and
So-
behind the red is ours too. So,
Okay.
yep.
So all of that constitutes 25 acres.
Yes.
And you do not wish to take away from the farming operations or the wooded trails or anything
Nope.
else. So you want to limit what you're doing specifically to the subject tract.
Yep.
What about the smaller tract, the 6106? Is
That-
that also yours?
No. Nope.
Okay.
So it's my understanding that this endeavor is to allow the general population to kind of find out what it's like to be on a farm.
Mm-hmm.
Children, and you have some other things that
Experiences.
experiences that they're going to go.
Yes.
So you're talking about up to 4 of these ADUs. What is the, I think staff said, showed us one that was a 2-bedroom. So at most, how many are you talking about at a stay?
You're talking 6 people at most, 6 to 8 maybe in the one.
In one?
It's a 3-bedroom, so yeah.
Okay, 6 to 8 in one, times 4. So 30-ish, 40-ish at most,
At most, yeah. That would not be my preference, but yeah.
okay? Plus staff?
They wouldn't be staying there, but yeah. I mean,
Okay.
we'll have help.
And roughly how much staff would you need for something like this?
1 or 2 people maybe.
Okay? And as far as like a recreational camp type thing or a farm stay, would these, are we talking, kids or family members, whatever, how long of a stay would the camp be?
In my experience, we've never had more than a week.
Okay. Couple days? Couple
A
days
long
up
weekend.
to a week?
Yeah. Minimum of 2 days will probably be.
And the activity is restricted to what you were getting at is just farming purposes, general farming purposes. So, and I'm questioning about additional traffic going up and down Old LaGrange Road. So would this increase, as far as activities go, would there be additional demand on traffic?
I don't believe so. I mean, it's just me providing, or staff providing experiences with horses, the animals, potentially gardening, canning, stuff like that. So I don't see why it would bring
Well,
a
are
lot
you
of
going to be
traffic.
bringing more horses up and down the road, more cattle up and down the road, more,
No.
Okay, board members, anything else? Charles? Good? Okay, thank you, Jessica.
Okay, thanks.
I do want to correct something I said.
Yes.
Thank you. Really, there is an application for the recreational camp. I misspoke. And I was basing it on, let me just, I hope this, you can see this. The front page of your staff report, in the box at the top, it says the request is for conditional use for a detached ADU. Everything else mentions the recreational camp. So if you look at the board action, It's an application that's been filed for conditional use for a detached accessory dwelling unit / recreational camp. Everything else in here, including the regulations for recreational camp, are part of your staff report. So really, the request is for both. I misspoke in saying, no,
Okay.
we should have, but it is in there. I was just looking at the title block when I said that.
So would we still need two motions?
no.
Still need two motions, but I wanted to just correct that they have a complete application
Okay,
for both.
okay.
So it still has to be a separate motion, even though they're both listed on there. You want a separate I'm sorry, my voice is terrible. So it would require a second motion to approve the use for that address as a recreational camp.
Yes, it takes two motions, like Chairman said, one for the recreational camp, one for the ADUs.
And I do have another question. I know this is kind of new territory, but as far as something that we touched on a second ago about duration of stay, are there any specific duration of stay limitations for a farm stay or recreational camp that aren't, that don't apply to what we've seen before in just residential?
No,
No.
they're not applying for short-term rentals.
Okay.
Short-term rental is 30 days or less.
Yes.
She said only up to a week, but it's for a recreational camp. I don't think that's going to be an issue.
There's no stipulations
Length of
in the
stay.
recreational camp restrictions.
I'll just note that on the last page of your staff report, it does have those recreational camping area. It does get into permanent occupancy is prohibited. So continuous occupancy extending beyond 6 months
Okay.
shall be prohibited. So that is located in there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And one other question, I'm sorry. The container units, are there any regulations in R2 that prohibit container units, that type of
No.
building? No, that's all good?
No,
Okay.
no, nothing in
Thank
there.
you.
Oh, yeah, and they'll have to meet building code. Once they apply for the building permits, that will all be reviewed through our building inspector and permits issued. So,
Thank you.
Before I move on, Jessica, if I can have you come forward again, I do have a few other questions. Talk to me about the camps themselves. I guess first, let's talk about we said, 6 to 8 per unit, 30 to 40 max. So there's going to be additional parking. Talk to me about parking. Talk to me about the camp itself as far as activities, light and sound is where I'm thinking about. At 11 o'clock at night, 7 days a week, midnight, is there going to be loud, noise, lights, etc.? So talk to me about that. I get just the camps in general. Again, going to some of the activities. So parking. Tell me about hours of operation, noise and light, signage.
Okay. Parking will be around the existing barn that's up closer to the road. I don't know. It was on my map that I had on one of, yeah.
Okay.
do you want this one, or do you want the one where the containers
Yeah,
are on it?
maybe the other one. Well, I guess it doesn't matter because
Okay.
you can see the same thing. The barn is
Hang on, Jessica, hang on. It
Okay.
takes a second for it
That's
to.
okay.
Okay, we got it.
Okay, the barn on the 60-50 area, we're gonna extend, there's already parking there, but we're gonna extend the parking around the barn to be larger. And that will be the entrance into the stay. And then they will either walk or have some kind of mode of transportation down to the homes from there. And signage will be up near the barn entrance, not the primary residence entrance.
All right, so hang on. You mentioned the property in 6050. That's the barn that you're talking about as far as parking. That's also the entrance to the farm stay, where they'll sign up or whatnot. So we are outside of the subject property, which is the 6100,
As far as entry.
as far
Yeah.
as entry. Okay.
Yep.
All right, keep going.
Yep. And then as far as lights and noise. There's curfew. We've had curfew at our current residence of 10 p.m. as far as being outside, anything like that. It's been enforced and hasn't been an issue. I don't foresee any issue because we're going to be there too. So it's, it's not a bachelorette party location. It's a family stay, farm stay promotion primarily. So I don't expect to have much of that going on, or will allow it, to be honest with you. Plus, there's there's a lot of distance. It's in the center of the property. I mean, it's pretty close to the center, so I tried to place it as close to the amenities as far as the farm goes as we could, but back off, any other body else that could be existing around us. So,
Will all the activity be on 6100? Is that where the 4 units are going to go?
yes.
And any of the farm stay activities, will it all be restricted to 6100 minus the parking and entrance?
Well, the horses are primarily on the 60/50 and the barn there. So it could extend into that barn. But the chickens and the pool and basketball court and all that are on the 6100. So.
And can you tell me what I'm looking at? On 6050, I see the barn.
Yep.
What is the big white square that's I'm going to say
At
north?
the top, that's
Yeah, top.
an arena.
It's an arena? Mm-hmm. For the horses, I assume?
Yep.
Okay. And then right behind the barn, what is that?
It's a dry lot round pen. So it's a gravel, it's just an area for the horses to go that need to get off grass for whatever reason.
Okay. And then on 6100, is that the primary residence?
Yep.
Can she point, or? Yep. If you
Okay.
could point to the primary residence.
Right
All
there.
right, go north. What is that?
Garage,
Okay. And then go, is that a swimming pool?
pool,
Okay.
and then basketball court.
Yep.
This is an old barn we use for storage. This is the chicken coop right there.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry, so curfew's 10 o'clock for any activity. And does that mean everybody inside of their units by 10 o'clock?
It just means nothing loud, and,
Activity stops at 10.
Yeah.
Okay. And maybe you said it and I just missed it. Tell me about lights and signage.
I mean, signage as far as the road signage.
Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be a small sign at the farm driveway, just that says the farm at Grace Hill. And then
And when you say small sign, something like knee high, or are we talking?
maybe waist high.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And small. Okay. And then lights.
At the road, potentially.
property.
Yeah. There may be some small lights, nothing more than you would have around a normal home. Residential lights.
Okay. All right. While I've got Jessica up, anything else for Jessica?
I got a question. In terms of what we were just talking about, you don't plan on having any weddings or any other things like that going on there?
No.
Simply focused on the farm stay activities?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we don't have the parking to do any type of weddings or anything like that, so.
So just know, and board members, we're going to talk about it in a minute, but how do we approve something like this and restrict it to just farm activities? Maybe it's exactly that, where we don't allow weddings, and so if this is approved, it's approved for 4 ADUs, and who's to stop you from putting weddings up there and having loud music up until midnight? I understand what you're asking for, and so somehow we'll have to craft that. So we just limit it to what you're talking about, but.
There is occasion that the people that stay will have like family reunions or have like small events, you know, small things that happen. I mean, we do that personally for ourselves as well. So I don't want to like, we don't want or will never have large events. But I mean, it is a farm and you entertain and you know, people could commune in a small way there. So I don't, I want to be careful because, I don't want to keep people from gathering either, small things.
Okay.
Or myself, for that matter.
All right, anything else for Jessica? All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Staff, did you all have anything else before I ask for, okay. Is there anybody here wishing to speak in favor of the application? Yes, sir. If you can come forward. And I'll need to get your sworn in and name and address.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And your name and address, please?
It's Thomas Nelson.
All right,
It's
Thomas.
6002 Old LaGrange Road.
Before you tell us why you're in favor, can you point, is 6002 anywhere on the map that I'm looking at?
You'd have to expand that. We own 250 acres around behind the 25 acres.
Okay.
We were the prior owners of this property, so
Okay.
we sold it to the Wachtells about 5-6 years ago.
Okay.
And I guess to say, I'm for the idea, and of course, this is why you're here, with restrictions. The questions, I guess, maybe more than anything, or concerns that I think you've already touched on is length of stay. My wife and I have just become RVers over the last couple of years with COVID, and as I say, my wife and I have become RVers over the last couple of years with COVID, and you go into a place where you can tell where there's a unlimited length of stay and where it's limited just by usually the condition and the clientele that are there. And you hit on the noise. Obviously, we're just maybe 1,600 feet or 1,400 feet from here to our house. So you've hit on that. Those things are important. And I know that septic, Oldham County does a great job with septic. That's extremely important because what you can't really see from here is there's pretty much a year-round wet weather stream that flows through here and back onto our property where we have 7 or 8 acres of ponds, and then it flows down into Curry's Fork. But I know from experience Oldham County does a great job with septic evaluation and getting the right designs for the right property. So I think it's a fabulous idea. I think it's good for these kind of things are good for the county and good for Crestwood, as long as it's done, on a limited basis. And I always ask myself, with any project, is the owners intend to do this? And I know Jessica and Kyle well. Kyle used to come to our house when our kids were like this. But if someone else comes to own the property later, with not as good of intentions, not that they're planning to do that. I don't think they are. They're probably like us. We were there for 30-some years. But as those kind of things are built into the conditional use. So I didn't mean to hit the keyboard. But that's pretty much it. Again, I think it's a good idea as long as it's done the way the county normally does things, and it kind of fits with other things going on in Crestwood with the brewery and Udell and things like that. So that's my input.
Thank you, Thomas.
Okay.
Any questions for Thomas? All right. Anybody else wishing to speak in favor? All right. Opposed? Is there anybody here wishing to speak in opposition? Board members, questions for anybody?
Just since it's the obvious possibility, did we get a response from 6106 when the letter was sent? Okay. All right. That was my question.
Well, staff, did we get any email or anything else of support or opposition?
Just, Mr. Nelson had called me, and he said he was going to be here today, and then 6106 is sitting back here, and he just wanted to know more about the project, so
Okay.
that's it.
Thank you.
All right, board members, any further questions? Okay, I'm going to close the floor, and we'll open it up for general discussion.
I think to assuage any problems with the lights and sound after 10 o'clock, we need to add some stipulation. I'm sorry, and I'm very hoarse. We need to add some stipulations to the conditional use of approval that specify 10 o'clock to, I don't know what time you start doing farm work in the morning, so is 6 o'clock a reasonable?
We'll have to open the floor.
I'm so
and
sorry,
call
yeah.
back forward.
But just as a general discussion, can we set a parameter there?
But can I just point out, agricultural uses are permitted uses, and you really can't regulate those. So if it were related to the camp, yes, but just what time do you get up and start working the horses?
No.
We don't want to put a time frame on that.
No, I was speaking to a quiet time for the camp, the recreational camp usage on the second motion. Would that be permitted? Okay.
Okay, so
I'm
all you're
saying-
saying is just a condition for approval, put some time restrictions on it.
On the second motion, which would be for the recreational camp. Is that appropriate in your eyes?
What do you all think about the number of ADUs and the number of, I keep wanting to say kids, the number of participants in the recreational camp? She said up to 40.
Now, the 40, I'm assuming, because when we're looking at these houses, one house you said you can get, 6 people in? And 40 would probably apply if you're going to have 4 of them that same size. But evidently you're not. You got pictures of one. So we're talking about a smaller number, aren't we, basically?
So Charles, hang on, just if we were trying to address them, we'll need to open the floor and call them back forward.
Yes, so we're talking about
Which we can do. If you have questions, we can do that.
No, we're talking about a smaller number. I think that 40 was a number that they picked. But if you look at the houses, if you look at the framework that's going to be there, it can't hold 40 people. So already we're talking about a reduction in noise because we're talking about less people. So that needs to be considered. That's what I'm saying. We need to be realistic. All these are not going to hold 6 people. Some are going to hold less people. My thing is, are they going to have more people with children, for instance? Are they going to have people coming in during the day just to experience getting eggs? Now, in the daytime, I can see that number going up with extra people coming through. With people going to pick eggs and to ride horses. So I can probably see 40, maybe 50 people there in the day, but I don't see 40 or 50
Well,
people
but
staying.
testimony was that the units will hold 6 to 8 each. So let's take the max on that, that's 8. Okay, that's testimony. And then testimony was up to 4 of these things, so that's 32, and then a couple of staff. So 34 was testimony. And when I said, you're talking 30 to 40, testimony was yes.
Yep, you're right, but after, we were talking about the buildings,
Yeah.
and we're seeing one of them here that only holds 1 or 2 people, and they're gonna have those there too.
Well,
But I understand what you're saying.
whatever that
Testimony-
count is.
Yeah, the testimony is 40.
yeah. Does that cause any concern for anybody? All right, what other factors need to be thought through for conditions of approval? Well, the downward lighting, Gretchen and I agree with the time boxing this. We did talk about signage, one sign at the entrance. We talked about downward facing light, well, we talked about lighting, just normal lighting, which is downward facing lighting. We talked about the max number of 4 units, talked about the max number of 40 participants, including staff.
You got it covered. As much as we need to cover it, I think.
You've asked a lot of questions because this is new. This is new area.
Okay, any other discussion before I call for a motion? Okay, I'm ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion. Excuse me, again, I'm so
I
hoarse.
remember two motions.
Yes, sir. We're doing that as the first one? All right. All right. Motion to approve the use of 6100 Old LaGrange Road, Crestwood, for the purpose of a recreational camp. The character and objectives of the purpose and use and the potential impact on the community and its surroundings are appropriate. The potential conditions of approval: the conditional use permit shall only apply to the plan considered at the January 19th, 2023 Oldham County Board of Adjustments public hearing, and that a curfew of 10 o'clock p.m. will be enforced, and that a quiet time between the hours of 10 and 6 will be observed for the proposed use of the recreational camp only.
I'm sorry, what were the hours?
10 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Can I suggest language? Curfew's a strange word. Somebody goes out and they just come home. Did they miss a curfew? How about if it said no outdoor events after 10 p.m. or before 6 a.m.?
Sounds good to me.
Acceptable? Okay.
Sounds good
No-
to me.
Right. Well, that, campfires, whatever, but somebody can come home after 10 p.m.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come back, yeah.
Yes.
And there were 2 others that I heard. Occupancy is limited to 40 people maximum, and then all lighting shall be low-level lighting.
So those are 2 more conditions.
There were 5 altogether. You did skip over the approval of the sewage disposal system from Oldham County Health Department will be required prior to issuing of any building permits. That's standard procedure anyway, but they offered that as a condition and know they have to do that, so.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, did you get the one where it's
Low level.
applied to the plan considered today?
She
got that
mentioned,
one?
that was the
Yes.
first one she mentioned, right?
Okay,
Okay.
Good.
yeah, thanks, Jim. Gretchen, you good with those additions?
Yes.
Okay.
Occupancy of 40 max and low-level lighting
Okay,
are conditions of approval for the motion regarding the recreational camp.
okay, do I have a second?
I'll second. Or Charles, either one.
Charles, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's been approved.
Second motion?
Oh,
Yeah.
second motion.
Okay. Motion to approve OC 23-001, requesting a conditional use permit for a detached accessory dwelling unit recreational camp located at 6100 Old LaGrange Road. The proposed use will not impair the integrity or character of the zone if there are specific restrictions on location, size, intent, and character of performance. Potential conditions of approval: the conditional use permit shall only apply to the plan considered at the January 19th, 2023 Oldham County Board of Adjustments public hearing. Approval for sewage disposal systems from Oldham County Health Department will be required prior to the issuance of any building permits.
Okay, all right,
I think that's all we needed for that one.
yeah. All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Charles. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? That one's also been approved. Thank you. And Gretchen, if you want to, when you're ready, go ahead and read the next one.
Docket OC 23-002, an application has been filed requesting a conditional use permit for a non-owner occupied short-term rental property located at 1124 Riverside Drive, Prospect.
All right. Once again, Ryan Fisher, Senior Planner, Oldham County Planning. So an application has been filed requesting a conditional use permit for a non-owner occupied short-term rental property at 1124 Riverside Drive in Prospect. Sits in a conservation zoning area on .22 acres of land. No previous site history. Adjoining property owner notices were mailed on the 4th of January. Public notice appeared in the Oldham Era on the 12th. Here is the piece of property in question on Riverside Drive, the Ohio River right here. And your zoning map showing CO1 and current structures. So the applicant's requesting a conditional use permit for the non-owner occupied short-term rental property. Section 250-050, item A in definition states a non-owner occupied short-term rental is the owner of the property that does not permanently reside in the short-term rental property or in a principal residential unit which the short-term rental property is associated with on the same lot. Section 250-050, item B number 2, states that in zoning areas in which residential uses are a permitted use, short-term rental of the dwelling unit that is not the primary residence of the property owner is required to obtain a conditional use permit by the appropriate Board of Adjustments. If granted the conditional use permit, the owner must also comply with the special standards outlined in the short-term rental regulations, general provisions 4 through 17. Submitted floor plans show really one bedroom and a fold-out bed in the living room. Therefore, the maximum number of occupants would be 6 persons. Responsible party for the property does reside within 21 miles of the property, which complies with the short-term rental regulations, item B, number 14. Here is the map provided by the applicant of the property. So I did call to ask about this. So there really is one bedroom, and then this down here, there would be a fold-out bed in the living room area. And then here's some pictures of the property that the applicant provided. The rear of the structure. And then looking out at the boat docks on the river. So in summary, the applicant's requesting a conditional use permit for a non-owner occupied short-term rental at 1124 Riverside Drive in Prospect. And those potential conditions of approval would be the conditional use permit shall only apply to the application considered at the January 19th, 2023 Oldham County Board of Adjustments public hearing. The applicant shall comply with all regulations concerning short-term rental properties outlined in the Oldham County zoning regulations, section 250-050, and the applicant shall apply for and be issued a short-term rental property permit before renting the property. And with that, that's all I have there.
Brian, actually, if you could go back, I'm going to have you stop on one of the pictures. Go forward. Forward one more. Stop right there. Thank you. And just, when I call the applicant forward, if you can hang on that one.
Gotcha.
Any questions for Ryan? All right, if I can get the applicant to come forward, please. Morning. Morning. And I need to get you all sworn in. Okay.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
And name and address, please.
It's Austin Hayes, and address is 265 Persimmon Ridge Drive.
Okay. And,
Sally Hayes, 265 Persimmon Ridge Drive.
all right, thanks, guys. Okay, if you can justify your project.
Yes, this is we bought this house. We were planning on using it as far as with our family, but then also when we're not there, we're wanting to rent this out short term, 2-3 days on the weekend, that sort of thing. I'm sorry, I apologize.
Mic's not really working. I know. Well, it worked a minute ago, but then it quit.
Yeah, I apologize. Okay, sorry. Yes, we bought this house, and we're planning on using it with our family, but then when we're not there, like it said in the application, that it's not our primary residence. We do live right on the Oldham Shelby County line, and so when we are not there, we're planning on, or we would like to be able to rent it out short-term on the weekend, a few days during the week, that sort of thing. One thing I did notice, it said max of 6 occupants. We have 5 kids between the two of us, so that puts us at 7. So I do want to be upfront with you all.
More than that, more than 6.
And it can sleep more than that. The upstairs, I think it's a little over 1,000 square feet total for the primary structure there. And the upstairs is large enough for 2 bedrooms. The previous owner, I think, had 3 or 4 beds up there. So we'll at least be sleeping 7 when we're there. And I could anticipate if a couple rents it out, I could see 2 parents with a couple kids. I could see 8 sleeping there easily, between 2 couples and kids. That outside building, I'm not sure if this is what you're going to ask me about as far as that additional structure. Right now, that's a storage. It's built up, I presume, just because of water levels by the river. But right now, it's just storage in there. There's electricity to it, but there's no heating and air to it. Below there is some plumbing there that needs work. It's not in operation right now. We don't plan on renting that portion of it out at this time. Just the main structure there.
That was I was going to ask exactly that. Am I looking at what you're calling the bungalow? Is that what that is?
The building in that picture on the left, yeah, that will help. That right there, that building there,
Yeah.
is what I guess we could, what you call it? The bungalow, and we can call it, and we've thought about possibly putting a window unit in there for AC in the summer, but right now it's just full of boating supplies and stuff the previous owner left there, and it is pretty small. So I mean, the max that could ever even sleep in there would be 2. The red portion there does have plumbing to it, but it is not operable right now.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Before I jump into the questioning, were you done with your justifying the project? Anything else?
No, I believe that's all. I mean, the only thing is we have considered cleaning that up, the bungalow portion, but at this time, that's not in our immediate plans. But we have considered that down the road.
All right. All right, thanks. Sally, did you have anything?
Just, there's a couple rentals on the street already. It seems like there are a few rentals on the street already. It seems like a great area to kind of keep with the Oldham County, like local tourism, people who live in the county but want to enjoy the amenities a little closer to the river. So we've already had some interest expressed, and I just think it'll be a great opportunity.
Okay. All right, board members, questions for the applicants? All right, I guess I wasn't even looking at the red building that you pointed to. So is there a better shot of what exactly that is? Because what it
Yeah.
appears to me is that's a whole nother living space.
So and it's clear on my screen than it is up there. I hope it may be clear on yours. This area here, the bungalow that we're talking about.
Yeah.
This part up here, I don't know if you can see that door. It's just a small, I'm going to guess 10 by 10 storage room. All that's in there right now are life jackets and oars and stuff like that, just to be on the water. This area right here does have plumbing, but like I said, the pipes are burst and it's currently turned off. This area here is just a back porch area.
Yeah. Show me the, point to the back of the bungalow.
This right here.
All right, then show me the front of it.
Let's see if we got well, the front would be, yes.
That right there, okay.
Because the
Go
river
across.
is down here.
What am I looking at that maybe it's behind? Yeah, that. What's that?
That's the neighbor's house.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. That's not ours.
All right, that's not part of the bungalow.
No, that's not, no.
Okay. All right. All right, anything else for the applicants? All right, thanks, guys.
Okay, thank you.
Board member, or staff, did we get any emails, letters of opposition or support? Okay, thank you. Is there anybody here wishing to speak in favor of the application? Opposed to the application? Yes, sir. And I know I need to get you sworn in and name and address.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
And name and address, please.
My name is, I'm Alan. I can't even hear myself.
Yeah.
Forgot my hearing aids this morning. My name is William Schmidt. I live at 1110 Riverside Drive in close proximity to the property. Riverside Drive, Prospect, Kentucky 40059.
Okay.
Okay. As said, I am here to speak in opposition.
Wait, William. Yeah.
Sorry.
There you go.
I'm here to speak in opposition to the proposed application. First of all, I am the vice president of the Harmony Village Homeowners Association, of which this property is located in Harmony Village. To my knowledge, the applicants have not joined the Homeowners Association. First thing I would point out, I have it here. This is the copy of their application that was posted on the county website. So I presume it's the correct application. It's filled out. It's with a checklist and all that business. The application is defective. Okay, it's the form that was used is dated August 30th, 2015. That is not the current form that the county requires be used based on what's posted on the website.
Yeah,
Now,
keep talking into the mic. Sorry, William.
I'm sorry, okay. Okay, I can show this if you want on the, but the reason I raised that question is because, one, they did apparently, based on this application, have a pre-application conference. So I cannot account for why they were not told to use the correct form. But the reason the correct form is significant is because it's substantially different than the one they used. And in that form, the one that's required by the county, okay, there are attestations that are required. And you do not have those attestations because that form was not used. Why does the attestation make a difference? Because the first can't say the word, says, hold up, let me get in the right pew here. Okay, I, the applicant, certify that, and the first thing is that operating the proposed short-term rental property would not violate any homeowners association agreement or bylaws, condominium agreement, covenants, codes, and restrictions, or any other agreement governing and limiting the use of the proposed property. That's the attestation that you do not have. At least to my knowledge, you do not have that. Okay? At least to my knowledge, you do not have that. Okay? Now, why do...
Look, can you put that on the...
the form?
Yeah, the form, please.
Don't want to stop testimony, but that application comes next if you approve the conditional use. Dylan, I'm sorry to interrupt you, and you can continue, but if you approve a conditional use, then they apply for the short-term rental. That's the form for applying for the short-term rental. What their application today is for a conditional use for that short-term rental.
Understand the distinction.
Okay.
But you can still put it on.
You still want to see this attestation?
Yeah, let's go ahead and put it on the, there we go, thank you.
Push here.
No. Just put the paper down. Put the paper down. That's all. There you go.
There you go.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, it's number 5. Yeah, number 5 is what I just quoted.
Could you show the front page? I'm curious as to what the difference.
Okay, sure.
We're going to start it.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, not what they've, not their application, but that application. Move down a little bit. The other way. There you go. So we're looking at an application for short-term rental versus an application for conditional use.
It appears that's the case, yes.
That's what I wanted to make clear for myself. Thank you.
Okay. All right. The reason I'm going through this discussion, okay, is because in February of last year, the board was asked to approve another short-term rental in the community, and we appeared here before the board and presented an opposition, and the board approved the short-term rental in spite of our opposition, okay? At the time, we had no in-place available notification or documentation of opposition to the short-term rentals in the neighborhood. That was in February, okay? Just before that meeting, the Homeowners Association, through the trustees, adopted a resolution against any short-term rentals in the neighborhood in perpetuity. I can show you that resolution that's in the minutes of our Homeowners Trustees meeting at the time. But we did not present that, other than orally, if you will, at the previous hearing for the other property. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please keep reminding me. Subsequent to that time, in November of this year, November 7th, we presented via the planning department a letter which basically restated the opposition, the statement, the resolution from the county, from our homeowners association, in the form of a letter. And I'd like to read that if you don't mind, and I can show you a copy of it here. Okay, it says, "We, the members of the Harmony Village Homeowners Association residing on Riverside Drive in Oldham County, do hereby oppose in perpetuity any future action by the Oldham County Board of Adjustments and Appeals to approve conditional use permits for short-term property rentals in Harmony Village as governed by Oldham County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance, Section 250.00. Okay, it says, our opposition is grounded in the Harmony Village Deed of Restrictions dated 10 June 1947, which states in part, all lots in the Harmony Village shall be used for residence purposes only. So it's in our deed restrictions, if you will, for a single or for residence purposes only. That's the characterization. We further assert that the use of any property in Harmony Village for short-term rental purposes per section 250I is commercial in use and contrary to the single-family character of the community, to the peaceful use of enjoyment by existing residents of their property, and to the essential character of the community. We request this opposition be recorded in appropriate county records to be implemented by the Oldham County Board of Adjustments and Appeals. Confirmation of this action is requested. Would you like to see this document?
Well, just put it,
give it to you, or?
just put it on the overhead, and then what we put on the overhead does get submitted into the case records.
I just read the whole thing to you, so it was signed at the time by our president of the Homeowners Association, who's here with us today. Okay. So point being, we, I think, have it on record, that formally on record, that we have opposition to any short-term rentals in the community. Now, let me do a couple of other things. Insofar as I know, no one has contacted anyone in the community or in the on the Board of Trustees or to get any information about short-term rentals. In particular, I don't believe the applicants made that contact. I'm unaware of it if they did or they didn't. In any event, they've made the purchase very recently. In other words, like in the last, I don't know, month or two, I'm not exactly sure the transaction dates, but I know the property just recently sold in the last couple of months. So as they stated, I believe their intent is to use this for, besides the family use off time, commercial purposes for rental income. Now, what's important about that? Well, first of all, I believe that requires a business license if you're going to do that. Now, I don't know what the board has done in the past with respect to that question for other short-term rental properties, but if it's being used for commercial purposes, I believe it requires a business license. And let me go further to say that recently the Supreme Court of Kentucky, in a case, Gadd, help me here, Jim, Gadd versus Hensley, is that it? Okay, ruled that short-term rental properties in the state of Kentucky are commercial, for commercial purposes. Okay, so I'm here to assert that the principal reason that the applicants have made for the conditional use permit and eventually for short-term rental property is for commercial purposes, which by that ruling by the Supreme Court is for commercial purposes. And that is counter to not only our deed restrictions, which I read, which is quoted here in this letter, but also is contrary to our statement of opposition, if you will, which we have placed in the county records, assuming what we asked to be done was done. Okay, so on all those grounds, we stand in opposition. And we request that the board disapprove the conditional use permit, since it's a clear stated intent to carry forward for it to be a short-term rental property. Should the board elect today to proceed with approving the requested application, I would request that we be given the opportunity to put together some conditions, if you will, on use of the property, since the county has, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, other than what's stated in the short-term regulation, you have no...
Bill, into the mic.
Damn it. Other than is stated in the short-term regulation criteria, has not put out any other conditional uses for, to use the earlier example, talking about the time of, when you can party, when you can't party, I mean, that kind of business. I don't know that there's anything like that, and we request to be able to at least propose for consideration by you folks a set of conditions for the circumstances of what they propose.
Okay.
Oh, I'd like to make another observation. Can we go back to the, is this what I pushed, to go back to the?
It'll take a minute, just push it once.
Push here.
It's not on the sticker. I did that too, and it's there.
Thank you.
Give it a minute to switch it.
Right. Hello? There we go. Okay, let me see if I can go back. The property map, as you can see, the property is reasonably close to the home. The residential portion of the property is reasonably close to the roadway, and there is a small, short driveway in the front, so there is very, very limited parking. The property on the other side of the road is privately owned, and has recently been the subject of an eviction notice to all people living alongside on Riverside Drive, on the riverside of the road. Eviction notice to cease and desist from any use of that property across the road for any purpose, which of course would include parking. So we have a rather severe constraint here on parking for this particular property. And lastly, I would point out that I believe, and I haven't done, I haven't trespassed on the property to confirm this, but I believe what they referred to as the bungalow, let me see if I can go back to that, which the bungalow is right, am I showing it right? Is it right there? Okay, let me see if I can get that other picture. Well, there it is. Is that it? That's what we're talking about, right? Okay. Is a detached structure. That was not clarified in the earlier discussion. And therefore, if it were being proposed for any use associated with this purpose, it would have to be treated as a detached structure, which would require, I believe, its own conditional use permit. I think I got it all. And I hope you heard me. I'm sorry for not
we got it.
doing better about being at the microphone. Are there any questions for me while I'm here?
Go ahead. Go ahead, speak into the mic. Somebody's ringing.
Oh, crap.
All right, sir, my question to you is this. Did your association go through the legal process of modifying your HOA articles?
We have not done that yet. It is, but it is a resolution.
Percentage of the residents?
I'm sorry?
What percentage is due of the residents does your old articles require? 75%?
A simple majority.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that still takes a majority. Now, how many residents or lots are in the subdivision?
There are 65 lots in Harmony Village.
Okay. But until you do that, you have not met the requirements that you have just discussed. I'm not sure what your vote thing is or your trustees, but they don't have the authority to modify your articles by themselves, period. That's all. I just want this board to know that.
The trustees have the authority in the bylaws to act in the interest of the community. And in passing the resolution, we have acted in the interest of the community.
I'm just going to tell the board here that is not enforceable at this time. Now, they can oppose it, sure, but they should go forward. And if they want that to be an enforceable restriction, an enforceable deed restriction, they have to do that. Period. In my legal opinion. Legal opinion on it, that's fine. That's all I'm saying. I'm not questioning your opposition. I'm just saying what you basically said is this is in violation of the deed restriction, and it's not until they change their articles.
May I respond?
Well, not yet, because this body does not have authority over homeowner associations and deed restrictions anyway. So I'm going to bring staff up here shortly, and we'll cover that.
I guess my question on it is the 1947 deed restrictions, are those valid at this point? And then my second question is, of the, what'd you say, 65 residents in Harmony Village, how many are currently short-term rentals?
I believe there are two approved short-term rentals, and I should defer to you because I do not know that answer.
And those, if there are two, they were previously approved.
Well, there's a yeah button, I'm sorry. I'd have to go look at the record because these are annual permits. And I can't remember if each of those that were already issued last year have put in applications for 2023. So if you need me to find that out, I'll have to take
I'm not an attorney, but my question is, if the 1947 deed restrictions are in place, why do they need a homeowners association
well,
approval that they've changed?
But
Typically, they expire in 30 years unless you renew them. I don't know what people know in that.
Oh, deed restrictions expire in 30 years. Is that, that's what you're saying?
Renew them, they're supposed to renew
I
them.
dispute that.
Well,
Well, you take that up, Joe.
Yeah, that's, right, that's not relevant for what we're talking about here.
okay.
May I answer his question?
I don't think that answer is relevant with what we're doing right now. Yeah. Jim?
I cede to my colleague.
well, to the director of the planning commission, so if you can have a seat. And again, the case that was referenced, Hensley versus Gadd, affirms that short-term rentals are commercial in nature. When the application, if a conditional use permit is issued or a permit for a owner-occupied short-term rental is issued, one of the questions, and Mr. Schmidt brought this up, is it in conflict with the deed restrictions? We check those deed restrictions. The applicant's supposed to do that, but we do as well. In a case, a different part of the county, the neighborhood association, the deed restrictions clearly says no commercial activities. Based on Hensley versus Gadd, we did not issue for 2023 a short-term rental permit in that neighborhood. As I understand it, the deed restrictions for Harmony Village say for residents only. It doesn't say no commercial activity, so now we're going to start to split hairs, and Tate, you're going to have to advise us on what to do if you're inclined to approve this. So this is becoming a real complicated subject matter in terms of individual subdivision deed restrictions. And to answer the question that's in your all minds, do we enforce them? Essentially, we do. If the application says, yes, it's in conflict, or we see that the deed restrictions, we don't issue the permit. I'd like, if Mr. Schmidt has his deed restrictions, for him to come up and put those on the overhead so you can read what's in them. You've seen these before in a previous case. So now it's up to you all to determine if you were to approve the conditional use, the next step is the application that Mr. Schmidt brought up, which is the more recent application for short-term rental. What would they check off? And I'm going to ask you, if you believe that the way the deed restriction is written, then we probably shouldn't approve the conditional use, because that is a question on the application that we have to deal with.
Jim, so it's my understanding that this body does not, there's no authority over the HOAs and deed restrictions and all that.
Well,
I totally understand. There's a second, and actually he brought it up, there's a second form that gets presented, and that's when that checkbox is checked. But this body, we just either approve or deny if you can have a short-term rental.
Larry, I don't think you can separate. In this case, you cannot separate that issue. Why would we approve something that's clearly in violation of a deed restriction, and then they come in with an application and staff has to say, sorry about that? In reality, we should be looking at that before they even make an application. We should require that the applicant bring in a copy of the deed restrictions, and we should read it. And if there is a conflict, we should say, you will never get your short-term rental even if you get a conditional use permit. So I think in this case, you can't ignore deed restrictions. I think it becomes, and Tate, you tell me if I'm going down the wrong path, it becomes incumbent upon you to read those deed restrictions, and in light of Hensley versus Gadd, you need to make a decision whether you can even issue a conditional use permit. I really believe that in this case, we're kind of in a trap where you have to look at those. We're not enforcing them. We're just not permitting something that's clearly in violation if you deem it to be a violation.
So the
Is that, well, hang on.
I agree with you. And normally, if there's an issue, they can go to the homeowner association before they come here and see if the homeowner association is going to disagree or not,
Yes.
provided it's in the restriction. Now, what is single-family purpose versus commercial purpose? It's pretty simple. They can't have a gas station next to a residential house and all that kind of stuff. But it's not a hotel. That's a different category as well. And I haven't researched that one issue, but to me, if I had to make a guess, a single family residence is what we're looking at. And what makes it commercial is they're collecting rent, but it doesn't change the category.
Well, you have to read Hensley versus Gadd for guidance, I
Talk
believe.
in terms of a single family home and
Yeah.
a commercial purpose.
Well, I can't quote it, but I read all those. It actually was the Court of Appeals and then the Kentucky Supreme Court. So I think you have to, and Mr. Carter had read those, and he affirmed in this other subdivision that I should not issue a short-term rental. There's, again, clearly said commercial. And so,
That's right. If it doesn't say that, how can you say just a single family residence is anything
Well,
other than that?
again, that's why I'm imploring this board to look at those. I can interpret it.
I would agree that if there are restrictions said no commercial purposes, we can't approve it. But
Right.
the current restrictions don't say that.
I understand. That's why I'm suggesting that the board look at what it says and make an interpretation or table this or do something, because otherwise it's going to fall on staff's shoulders to interpret that. If you choose to issue a conditional use for anything on Riverside Drive, not just this application, it becomes a staff interpretation of whether or not it's in conflict. I think my opinion would be look at it and make a decision about the conditional use based on whether or not you think there's a conflict that we're setting up by approving it. It makes sense to me.
But you have taken, the staff is already, we would be here now if the staff has taken a position on it and said, let's go forward. That's what you've done.
Well, we again, we get put in a position of interpreting a deed restriction. So that's why when I started this, I said, this is complicated. These short-term rentals weren't necessarily anticipated when deed restrictions were written, especially in 1947. We now create regulations that describe a process, a conditional use and then an application, that inherently could set up conflicts with deed restrictions, causing issues like these people coming forward, paying an application fee, being here, and then finding out that maybe they should or shouldn't be here. This is a big subject for, in my opinion, for this county and for staff. Unrelated, but Pee Wee Valley struck short-term rentals from their regulations. When they adopted the short-term rentals, they went back and said, wait a minute, we don't want to have short-term rentals in Pee Wee Valley. So you cannot have a short-term rental in Pee Wee Valley unless you're zoned commercial, because those are like hotels, motels. So there are two, because they are zoned. Well, that's not any better. Commercial. So anyway, I really
Well,
I mean, you know, what I might suggest, and maybe the applicant might want to consider this, is either withdrawing the application or asking for it to be tabled so we can sort out this issue.
What I'd like to get clarified is the procedure that you have to have a conditional use prior to a short-term rental? Because this is asking us to do a conditional use for a short-term rental.
That's correct.
So why would you not just go straight to the short-term rental and avoid the conditional use?
This is a non-owner occupied short-term rental, so the owner is not, this is not their primary residence.
Right.
The regulations are written in two ways. One is owner occupied. If I want to rent a room in my house and I'm going to be there, that's just the short-term rental application. But when you're not the primary residence, as in this case, you need a conditional use, in which case conditions are placed upon the property.
So just for my own education, if I wanted to do a Derby rental and I wanted to rent my house for a week or whatever for Derby, do I need a conditional use permit?
If you're not going to be there,
Yes.
Yeah, well, we're going to get down a rabbit hole, you know,
Okay,
because
just-
people are doing it for Derby anyway, without permits.
Right.
But this is the only time I do it, I'll never do it. If you are the owner and it's your primary residence, then all you need is the short-term rental application filled out with contact information, whatever.
But I
You
understand
don't need a
that
conditional use.
For tax purposes, a short-term rental for Derby is not taxable because it's a particular situation. What we're talking about here is a potential more often than once or twice. You're looking at potential
revenue
365-day rental.
Sure, revenue producing.
Right. Okay. That's fine.
well, I am in agreement that we need to table this and try to make a determination.
Yes.
Yeah, let them go forward and get their, change their current deed restrictions and get the approval of 52, whatever the percentage is, of the subdivision. The subdivision, because you got people in there that need to know this and agree to it, because it wasn't in there when they bought their property. And anyway, I just think y'all should go forward and do the proper thing, amend your deed restrictions, you get the approval of the majority of the subdivision, and go forward, and then come back here. Yes, sir? Yes, sir? You understand you're the president of the homeowners, so you've been here before.
Yes, many times. Many times.
Hang on, before you speak. Board, do we want to continue the legal discussion or table, or are we going down the path, are we all in agreement that we're going to table this case? And we can take these discussions outside of this meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
I just have a question.
What
you said about the
I need to
30.
get you sworn in and state your name and address.
It's Bill Hillebrand, 1104 Riverside Drive, Prospect.
Bill, be sworn in, please.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Thank you.
And your question?
Question is, we spent about $1,000 with an attorney that writes many of the deed restrictions and homeowner association rules within the last, I don't know, maybe 6 months or so. And he did not, he basically said without 100% participation, we cannot change the deed restriction rules from 19 whatever.
Well,
So
it should already be in your deed restrictions as to how you modify them and change them. It has to be, because that's the, I mean.
it forms a board of trustees.
All right, I want to stop you, and we're
I
going
would
to take
just like
this.
his opinion.
That's fine. We're going to take the discussion out of this meeting. Thank you.
Even afterwards, if you've got
Thank you.
suggestions.
You may take a seat. Thank you. No, sir. Board, I'm going to close the floor.
Please document I requested to make a final statement of this tonight.
You can do that. Thank you. I'm going to close the floor for public hearing. Any discussion, board members, before I call for a motion? All right, can I get a motion to table this?
Motion to table this application.
Okay. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, this has been tabled until further notice.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we need a break?
Yes, I make a motion, we take a break.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? 5 minutes. Jay, I can't hear you. Okay. Can I get a motion to come back into session, please?
Motion to come back into session?
Can I get a second? Second. Thank you, Charles. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, back in session. Gretchen, if you'd like to read the next one, please.
Docket OC 23-003, an application has been filed requesting a conditional use permit for a detached accessory dwelling unit pool house located at 7304 Sunset Lane, Crestwood.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Ryan Fisher, Oldham County Planning and Development Senior Planner. So this conditional use permit for a detached accessory dwelling unit and pool house located at 7304 Sunset Lane in Crestwood. It is in an R2 residential zoning area. Its land use is residential and it sits on 1.55 acres. No site history on the property. Our adjoining property owner notices were mailed on the 4th of January, and it appeared in the Oldham Era on the 12th of January. Here is the parcel in question and the zoning map and the current structures. So the applicant is requesting a conditional use permit for a detached accessory dwelling unit for a proposed pool house on the 1.55 acre tract. Project consists of a single-story 969 square foot pool house to include a great room, kitchen, bedroom, full bathroom, and laundry room. So section 250-040E, number 5, states that detached accessory dwelling units shall not exceed 25% of the primary structure's square footage. Primary home is 2,382 square feet with a 1,794 square foot finished basement, which would allow 1,044 square feet of ADU area. So the applicant's proposing a 969 square foot detached accessory dwelling unit, which complies with that portion of the standard. The proposed ADU will utilize a new secondary septic tank and utilize its own electric service necessary to meet building and electric codes, and those are both being required by the service providers in this situation. The applicant meets the remaining regulations listed in those conditional uses in section 240-040. So I turned this image to kind of reflect where we had our street on the other images. So you've got the primary house, the pool, and so this is going to be your location of the proposed pool house there on the right side of the dwelling. Here's just another example showing where the new septic tank will be going and the lateral lines and the current septic tank. And they have been in contact with the health department and received approval for all of that. Here is a schematic of what the pool house will look like, and then a floor plan of the single-story accessory dwelling unit. Once again, just showing the location of the proposed pool house from the aerial image. And here's just a couple of images of the home from the street. And so you're looking from here, the proposed ADU will be back in this location behind those trees. So the applicant's requesting a conditional use permit for a detached accessory dwelling unit pool house located at 7304 Sunset Lane. And our conditions of approval, the conditional use permit shall only apply to the plan considered here today at the January 19th, 2023 Oldham County Board of Adjustments public hearing. And that's all I have.
Okay, questions for Ryan? Good. Okay, if we could have the applicant come forward, please. Morning.
Morning.
And we can get you sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Name and address.
First name is Alex, last name is Lemon. Address is 124 West High Street, Jeffersonville, Indiana.
Okay. And if you can justify your project.
So the homeowner's here with me. Mother's getting up in age, and she's spending a lot of time at the house currently. Wanting to spend more time with the grandkids, so the proposed structure for the ADU is a pool house for her to live in, not permanently. but just to visit the grandkids. Yeah.
Alex, let me stop you real quick. You started off by saying the homeowner is here with you.
Correct.
You are not the homeowner.
I am not the homeowner. I came up because I was the applicant, so.
And as the applicant, what is your relationship or position on this application, on this piece of property?
I work for Twin Spires Remodeling, so I do I apply for all of our permits through Metro and through you all, depending on where obviously where the building's taking place.
So you're the builder
Correct.
for the ADU.
Correct.
All right, carry on.
But for the proposed structure, like I said, homeowner's mother is getting up in age. She spends a lot of time at the house currently. They've been wanting to build the pool house, so it's going to kind of act as a structure to mitigate traffic in the current house, and just there's a lot of activities that go on at the house, because of the pool. So.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Questions for Alex?
So this is gonna have a bedroom, you say?
Correct. Yep. Bedroom,
And the
full bath.
bedroom is for what now? What is the bedroom usage for?
For the mother to stay in. Yeah. It's not a permanent residence though.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's not a permanent residence?
So the proposed residence, the pool house, isn't going to be a permanent residence
okay,
for the mother.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
It's for when she comes to visit, she's got somewhere to stay that's not inside the house.
Okay. All right, further questions? This had its own septic, if I recall that?
Correct.
And electric,
Correct.
totally separate from the primary?
Yeah, we were going to try to tap into the existing electric, but we're going to have to do a new service. There's not enough room on the existing panel, so we've already been in contact with the electric company. My electrician has, and he's worked all that out, found the tap box and everything, so.
There's a picture that we have in our packet, and I don't know if this is accurate or not. If you could indulge me and put this on the overhead real quick.
Which one is it?
Well, it's this.
This right here, the rendering.
Well, it is, but I wanted that picture to be seen.
Is it up here?
Just put it on there, yeah, and then hand it back to me when I'm done talking about it. All I'm asking is the distance of the proposed ADU from the neighboring property. That was the only picture I could find that actually showed it.
It's on the site plan.
I was going to say,
Is it on the?
I believe so. I've got
It's right here on the
setbacks.
site plan.
Ah,
Let me see.
I missed it.
Is that right?
26 feet and 30 feet, from what I read.
I think you can see it on this, correct? There's a glare standing up here.
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah, that's okay. All right. All right, any other questions for Alex? Okay, thank you, Alex.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you. Is there anybody here wishing to speak in favor of the application? Opposed to the application? Board members, questions for anybody? Okay, I'm going to close the floor, open it up for discussion.
Doesn't appear that there are any setback issues or, it's in the appropriate place on the property, not in front of the structure. It seems pretty straightforward.
We can't hear what Gretchen's saying.
Oh, sorry. I said it seems pretty straightforward. There's no setback issues, or the placement of the structure is behind the primary structure, so there's no issues with that, and it seems like a pretty straightforward project to me.
Yeah, I would agree. Okay, any other discussion? If not, I'm ready for a motion.
Motion to approve OC 23-003 for a conditional use permit for a detached accessory dwelling unit pool house located at 7304 Sunset Lane in Crestwood. The character and objectives of the proposed use and the potential impacts on the community and its surroundings are appropriate. Potential conditions of approval: the conditional use permit shall only apply to the plan considered at the January 19th, 2023 Oldham County Board of Adjustments public hearing. I wonder if we should not also include that the dwelling shall not be used as a rental property or for any commercial use, just because it comes up.
I'd be in favor of that.
Okay. The accessory dwelling unit shall not be used as a rental property or for any other commercial use.
Okay. Got a motion? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Charlie. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's been approved. Yeah, okay. All right, Gretchen, if you want to read the next, please.
Docket OC 23-004, an application has been filed requesting a conditional use permit for the private event space, Windy Meadows Event Center, located at 1309 Bluegrass Parkway, LaGrange. Before you proceed, I need to recuse myself in this particular case, so I'll be stepping out.
Okay. Hang on. Okay. All right, Ryan.
If the board would like to know, there is still a quorum, and two will consider to be a majority of the vote. What it vote is 6-2.
Did everybody hear that?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
All right. So I'm still Ryan Fisher, still Senior Planner with Oldham County Planning and Development Services. So this is for a conditional use permit for a private event space, 1309 Bluegrass Parkway in LaGrange. It is zoned agricultural use, and it sits on 50 acres of land. No previous site history. Adjoining property owner notices were mailed on the 5th of January, and the public notice appeared in the Oldham Era on the 12th. Here is the parcel of land. And you'll see here in a second that we're really going to be talking about these two buildings right here. So zoned agricultural 1, there is some small portions of CO1 on either side, but where the event space is located is in the agricultural zoned area. And here are the current structures on this farm. So the applicant's requesting a conditional use permit for a private event space on their 50-acre tract. Site plan will show a large event space building as well as a meeting space building. The event space will include a paved parking area for around 24 handicapped parking spaces and 2 unpaved parking areas for up to 60 vehicles each. According to the business plan provided, the hours and days, so the event space itself intends to be available on Saturdays and Sundays, and the applicant states they rent that space from May to October only. The meeting space building is used throughout the year for small groups in conjunction with events and used in conjunction with events taking place in the event space. So I talked to the applicant about this. That room, when there's an event going on, if there's a wedding, that may be used for the bride to get dressed, things like that. It's used throughout the year for meetings, HOAs, things like that will meet in this space. So I did reach out to her to state if she wanted to kind of write up a business plan for the meeting space, because I didn't want to just corner her into where she can only use her meeting space room as well from May to October. I didn't not get a response from her on that, so that may be something to bring up with the applicant when they approach. Times, the events will end no later than 11 p.m. according to the business plan. Amplified music, the applicants intend to allow limited amplified music indoors up to 11 p.m. in conjunction with those events. And the event space has a maximum guest capacity of 100 people. So here in agricultural uses, we're looking over here, private clubs requiring a conditional use permit. the private event space. So here is, this front building is the event space building where they'll have those events from May to October. The meeting space room is actually the building here to the rear. The parking, the paved areas is all going to be handicap parking, and then additional parking over here for those of the lots that are up to 60 cars. The applicant did state, obviously, if there's, events, the occupancy is 100, so the parking, if everybody drives individually, would cover it, but all of these additional horse areas, in the event that one is muddy, could be opened up for parking as well. So that is the site plan for you. And here are just a couple of views of the property taken from the entrance and looking down Bluegrass Parkway. So an application's been filed requesting a conditional use permit for a private event space located at 1309 Bluegrass Parkway in LaGrange. Our potential conditions of approval, the conditional use permit, disregard the agritourism building part. The conditional use permit for the private event space shall only apply to the application considered at the January 19th, 2023 Oldham County Board of Adjustments public hearing. Event space shall only be used from May to October, and the event space hours of operation shall only be Saturdays and Sundays with ending times at 11 p.m., and a maximum guest capacity shall be no greater than 100 people. And with that, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Questions for Ryan?
Ryan, are there any other, I didn't recall hearing it, are there any, in the case history, are there any other permits for this property or any other commercial purchases of this property at this time?
No, nothing on this. There was a Board of Adjustments case back in early 1981, and it was for a trailer that was put on the property for, it was a long time ago. So.
All right, thank you.
All right.
All right, if I can have the applicant come forward. Morning.
Good morning, or almost afternoon.
Almost afternoon. If you could raise your right hand and be sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I affirm.
Thank you.
And name and address, please.
Ellen Troutman, 1309 Bluegrass Parkway, LaGrange.
Okay, Ellen, and if you can justify the project.
Yes, so we have a large farm located on Bluegrass Parkway that has been a part of agritourism for many years, bringing in FFA, bus tours, everything. Now what we've done is the front building, the front barn, created an event space that we've used for Oldham County Gala, History Center Gala. And it was brought to my attention that it actually needed a conditional use permit to hold these events that have been going on there for about the last 40 years. So here I am asking, I guess, for forgiveness versus permission for those events that have been held throughout the last 40 years. Okay. And it is a working horse operation, $1 million horses, national and world champion horses. So any event that we've had, and maybe some of you have attended, are very regulated and moderated by our own staff and security. We've had many celebrities and movies filmed there for Hallmark movies. So it is a event space that costs quite a bit to rent. So it's not something that has been disruptive to the neighborhood. Most don't even know we have events. So it's our personal property. So we have every intention of keeping all of that safe and keeping the horses safe. So the music and partying and all of those things aren't really something that we're concerned, because we're there with our property and we don't want to subject that to any kind of, not only disrepair or disrespect to the property, but liability as well.
Okay. Questions for Ellen? I guess my only question is anything going to change from what it currently is right now?
No, sir.
No more signage, no more
No,
lighting,
sir.
no more, it's
No, sir.
exactly as it is.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
just from so we're basically catching up on where we would have been because of it's been rented, it's been somewhat commercial.
Well,
and now we're looking at potentially a wedding venue.
Correct. It has been a working horse farm with horse shows and clinics and various people coming in and out. I work with animal control in Henry County. We come in and out. We are very respectful to our neighbors. And of course, that farm's been there a very long time. And we're just continuing. And as I stated, we didn't realize we needed the conditional use for that personal space.
All right, thank you.
Thank
may
you.
have a seat. Jim?
And really, this is in relation to your question. First of all, I want to thank Ms. Troutman. When we notified her she needed a conditional use, she came in, she applied, here she is, so thank you. But I want to make a clear distinction between what's happening on the property. First, all the equestrian-related events are permitted uses. She didn't need to be here for conditional use. This really is for weddings or other events that, although they may want the setting of being on a horse farm, it really isn't related to farming activities. So what she described is happening in terms of working with, all the horse owners and whatnot. That's permitted. She can have those events. It's the other events like the gala that the History Center had. That's, again, a great setting, but it wasn't related to the horse industry and permitted use. So,
what about use as a movie set or those kind of things? If there's
those are really kind of special events, and we don't have anything that says you can or can't do those. So when they do it, it's temporary. They go in, they film, and they're done. And we've had those events. Make sure that we're covering everything we need to cover. Yeah, we've had those events like on Main Street and other places. That's part of the Hallmark movies that Ms. Troutman mentioned. So we don't have any. And I hope we never have any regulations about making movies.
Okay, any other questions? Staff, did we get any letters, emails, anything of opposition or support?
I'll put a couple up here. Let you read those, and then I'll submit both of these for the record. Oh.
Hang on, it just now popped up, so.
So this first email is from Mr. Vessels, pretty much just stating that there was no objection and they were happy that they, finally came in and did the proper permitting for that.
Okay.
And then this second one is fairly lengthy from Mrs. Ponder, kind of going in what the deed restrictions and what's required. Jim Urban did reply to this one with some answers of why it was going to go forward to you all. And then I think her questions that she poses are valid to maybe be answered by the applicant if you want one or two just about those issues. But other than that, was fairly in support of the project.
I'm not sure I understand the second question. Will clients be subject to approval by the owners as opposed to the public?
I don't remember how you.
21.
I don't see Ms. Ponder here, but I did respond and say, I think it was, is this board going to say who can rent or not rent? And I answered no. We don't regulate who rents it. We just consider whether there's a conditional use or not. And I didn't bring the response to this because it was, for the most part, she did write back and say thanks for the response after I did.
You done reading?
Hang on.
Yes.
I'm done. Good? Good, thank you.
I got a question.
Yeah.
The only difference from the things that you had before is just that you're adding this event center, right, basically?
Actually, if you can come forward.
I think I can answer it, and you can come and help me. Again, as I explained earlier, this is only for the non-equestrian or horse-related events.
Okay, that takes care of it.
Yeah.
That
yeah.
takes care of it. I didn't
That
hear
really
that.
is, you know, it
That
just
takes care
clears up whether or not,
It takes care of it.
because other people have event spaces for weddings, this clears up that
Gotcha.
if you grant it, that they can have weddings and makes it permitted.
Gotcha.
Are there currently weddings taking place here?
It is advertised as such, and you can ask Ms. Troutman how many times she's had weddings. It doesn't sound like a lot, but
That clears it up for me.
again, when
That's fine.
it's on the Oldham County Tourism website as an event venue, and we kind of were looking at other places that didn't have the event venues listed or conditional use permits, and so again, when reached out to Ms. Troutman and said, you got to get a CUP, she said, okay, great, made an application, here she is.
Okay. Is there anybody here wishing to speak in favor of the application? Opposed to the application? Board members, before I close the floor, any other discussion?
Sounds like if it hasn't been a problem.
All right, I'm going to close the floor, and then general discussion. The only statement I've got is what's already spelled out in the notes, which I believe it gets covered with the statement that says, shall only apply to the application considered today. So whoever makes the motion, just take note of that. And what I mean is, in the notes, it spells out the hours of operation, amplified music, maximum space, etc. It's all spelled out.
All that need to be in the,
No, I'm saying
Oh.
it's covered by that one statement. And if there's no more discussion, I'm ready for a motion.
okay. I'm just wanting to make sure I cover all the bases.
Yep.
Help me out with that.
If you look on the top of the third page.
Third page.
Right there.
Oh, okay. So I move to approve the conditional use because proposed use is essential or desirable for the community and not in conflict with the elements, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan based on one or more of the following factors. Granting the conditional use permit will allow for proper integration into the community of a use specifically named in the zoning. Potential conditions of approval, the condition of use permit for the agri-tour business or building shall only apply to this application considered for at the January 19th, 2023 Oldham County Board of Adjustments public hearing. The event space shall only be used from May through October. The event space hours of operation shall be on Saturdays and Sundays with ending times at 11 p.m. A maximum guest capacity shall be no greater than 100 people.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? It's been approved. Thank you. Yep, thanks. Welcome back. And then whenever you're ready, if you want to read the next one, 005.
C 23-005, an application has been filed requesting a side and rear yard setback variance for proposed additions to an existing structure located at 7006 Newstead Court, Crestwood.
All right, so Ryan Fisher, Oldham County Planning and Development Senior Planner. So side and rear yard setback variance for a proposed building addition located at, well, disregard that address there. That's what I get for going over these. But 7006 Newstead Court in Crestwood. So zoning, it is in an R2 residential area. Land use is residential and sits on .378 acres of land. No previous site history. Adjoining property owner notices were mailed on the 5th of January, and the public notice appeared in the Oldham Era on the 12th. Here is the property in question on Newstead Court in the cul-de-sac, Summerfield by the Lake subdivision. It's in an R2 zoning area. And here is the additions that are going to be proposed. A larger one here on the right side of the property, and then a smaller one here on the left side. Just note these setbacks, 12-2 here on the left, and the one on the right is going to be 10-2. And then in the rear setback, you're going to be encroaching in that area as well. You'll see these later on, but if we need to go back to them, we can. They're also in your staff packet. So the applicant is requesting a side and rear yard setback variance for those proposed additions. The proposed additions, 1,621 total square feet, include a single-story bathroom addition on the left side of the home, and that's going to include a master bath and walk-in closet addition, and then a two-story addition on the right side, which will include a three-car garage on the bottom floor, storage and a laundry room on the first floor, and then 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a TV living room, an office, and walk-in closet on the second floor. So the side yard setback requirement in R2 zoning is a minimum of 7 feet on either side, with a total of 25 feet for both sides. And so the second half of that regulation is where we're going to look at the setback variance because they don't meet the 25. So the proposed additions will be 12 feet 2 inches from that left side property line, and then 10 feet 2 inches from the right side property line, which totals 22 feet 4 inches. So therefore, the applicant on the side setback variance is going to be requesting a 2 foot 8 inch variance to meet that 25 feet for both sides. Is that clear before I move on?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Hang on.
So 7 feet is the minimum setback, but they together have to equal 25. So one side.
Okay.
So that's where, because of the additions, they now don't meet the 25 total feet that's required for both sides. They still meet the 7.
They meet the setbacks, they don't meet the total.
The total of 25.
There you go.
So, okay, just wanted to be sure we were all clear on that one because it can be slightly confusing.
Right, I'm confused on the property we're looking at. Is that inclusive, the portion in the back?
Yes.
That's not a separate lot?
No, so that is a separate lot. They own that separate lot, though, but it is a complete separate parcel of land.
Okay, because on the first page, it's shown as a separate.
Yeah, so it's a separate lot. He noted it on there since he is the owner of it, but it has not been consolidated. It is a separate lot.
And it is subject to sale?
It is what?
It could be sold.
Right. So the rear yard setback, okay, so we've moved past the side. The rear yard setback in an R2 is a minimum of 25 feet. So the proposed addition will encroach into the rear setback area and be 7 feet from the rear property line. Therefore, the applicant is requesting an 18-foot rear setback variance. And that's obviously a cul-de-sac lot, so it's kind of difficult, but so they are requesting the 18-foot rear setback variance. The applicant's requesting the variances due to the unique shape of the lot, and the additions are needed for additional parking and potentially taking care of parents. And then here are a couple of the floor plans. These were provided in your staff packets as well. Here's the basement area. And then here's the additions on the first floor with the bathroom addition here on the left side. And then on the right side, the 3-car garage, laundry, some utility space. And then upstairs, where we add in the bedrooms, bathrooms, TV living area, office, and closet space. And then I just added these in to kind of show you approximately the locations of those additions. And then the applicant provided this photo, which is definitely hard to see from here. Hopefully your all screens are a little bit better, just showing the locations of those additions. And then in elevation, the red on here, when the applicant sent me this email, said there are a few things. This was kind of a rough schematic drawn up by the architect, but he does want to change some things here with just the roof line. So that's what the red markings are, but this is showing the additions on the property. And so just in summary on those setbacks of what our required side yard is, and the requested side yard of being the 22 feet 4 inches, so therefore needing the variance of 2 feet 8 inches to meet that 25 total side setback. And then the rear setback variance needing 18 feet there on the request, as it's required to be 25 and they're asking for 7. So the potential conditions of approval of the variance shall only apply to the plan considered at the January 19th, 2023 Oldham County Board of Adjustments public hearing. That's all.
Any questions for Ryan? Ryan, can you show me the a shot? Actually, I'm looking at the rear yard, that right there. So the rear, show me where they're encroaching in the rear setback.
So
that right there.
Yeah, it may be better to show you this original one.
That's what I'm looking at on
So,
yeah.
Yeah, so he's got marked the 25. This would be that rear setback, and this addition will encroach in that, and then it's going to actually go back here to, this would be 7 feet off that property line.
Okay, all right. If you can just leave that up.
I will.
When I call the applicant forward. Any other questions for Ryan? Okay, if I can have the applicant come forward, please. Hello.
Hello.
If I can get you to be sworn in and
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
And name and address, please.
Rodney Tyler Williams, 7006 Newstead Court, Crestwood, Kentucky.
All right, Rodney. First of all, are you the homeowner?
Yes.
Okay. And if you can justify the project.
Yeah, like they said there, I want to add 2 additions, a bump out on my master bathroom on the one side, and then an additional 3-car garage with living space on top for a bedroom, kind of a living area, and office for me.
Okay. Questions for Ryan? Or I'm sorry, Rodney.
That's fine. Don't worry about
it. Rodney, the reason I wanted this shot left up here is, what is the hardship if this application were denied on the rear setback?
So, about 15% of the addition, it goes past that. If you look at the blueprints, that's
15%?
Of all my additions, only about 15% would be past the 25-foot setback. That is where my office will be. A couple years ago, I changed my job. Well, about a year and a half ago, I changed my job, and I lost my office, so I work from home now. So wanted to get an office, and that's also will cut into the living space. I have parents in their mid-70s that live out of state, and I'm trying to prepare for if I have to bring them home here to Kentucky to take care of them, to have a place where they can sleep and watch TV.
I understand you own the property behind.
I do.
And if you could, is it the arrows just to advance different slides? All right, if you can arrow to this picture. Yeah, that's fine right there.
Okay.
And which property do you own? You can use the mouse and point to it.
Oh, okay. This,
Okay.
right behind it.
Okay. And so the addition where you are asking for relief on the rear setback, you do not own. That is your neighbor. That's,
Yes, there's no one that lives there now.
that's that one right there.
Yeah.
And there's nobody living there
No
right
one
now?
lives there now.
How big of a lot is this? Yeah. All right, additional questions for Rodney? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Staff, did we get any letters or emails? The very last one?
So, yeah, so there is one in your staff packet that was received prior to me printing those. So from the neighbors. It's a fairly extensive letter, but it is in opposition and really kind of asking for them to have more time to be able to get a surveyor out there to determine the property line and where the addition is going to go, because it will be considerably close to their driveway there which is on the left side of their home. Mr. Williams' driveway is on the right side of his home. So they're out of this house right here.
Okay. All right, is there anybody here wishing to speak in favor of the application? Opposed to the application? Okay, you can come forward.
Good morning,
Morning.
members of the board.
I'm sorry.
I said good morning, members of the board.
Yes, good morning. I can get you to raise your right hand and be sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
And state your name and address, please.
Good morning. My name is Deborah Myers. I live at 7008 Newstead Court, Crestwood, Kentucky.
Okay, Deborah?
As Ryan stated earlier, we filed an objection. We live to the right of the Williams property. That is the side with the larger of the two proposed additions. The placement of our two houses, our driveways are side by side, and the larger addition, I think of all the folks, except perhaps that undeveloped lot behind the Williams that they don't own, our property would probably be the most affected. I have concerns because the project as proposed, I mean, as I kind of put forth in my letter, and I probably said more eloquently than I will this morning, the existing footprint of the main house is, about 2,017 square feet. The addition that would go on our side has a footprint of at least 1,326. More than 50% of the existing, I mean, it's almost as if a whole nother house is going to appear on this third of an acre lot, roughly. And I mean, we live in Summerfield by the lake for a reason. I mean, if we wanted houses that close to us, we would have built and purchased in Norton Commons or a similar neighborhood to that. I think this is percentages can be a little misleading, because I think when a request is being made for setbacks that or variances on setback rules on three sides, I think that is a significant request. We weren't approached to discuss this beforehand, and I really hate being here, because these are our neighbors that we've had since we built in 2008, and we've always been on good terms. So it is difficult for me personally to be here. But as most people who are homeowners, it's our biggest investment, and I am worried about the aesthetics of it, and that kind of leads to the home valuation issue. The aesthetics of basically the house almost doubling in size, I mean, from the road as proposed, and I mean, I understand that the Williamses have a right to add on to their home. It does have to be aesthetic and in keeping with the rest of the neighborhood. No one in the neighborhood, to my knowledge, has a six-car garage attachments to the home. I think as proposed, I must respectfully and regretfully object. And we are not agreeable to the variances that have been requested. And my husband also wants to be placed under oath and speak.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And state your name and address.
Wade Myers, 7008 Newstead Court.
All right.
So, yeah, I'm in opposition to this as well with my wife. Did want to state a couple things here. I did notice, so we were unaware of any of this until we received the letter, right, in the mail. So started looking at that, and I did notice that the living area stated is incorrect. I don't think the basement was included in that, in the living space. I know when you put a house on the market, you normally don't put your basement in there, but we're looking at living space here, right? So there's another 1,500, 2,000 square feet of living space in the basement. And then we are on the right-hand side there, but I did want to state, as we received the letter, I started kind of looking at the lines, trying to understand the lines, understanding, where the setbacks are, what the variance board's here for, and so I started looking around, I started looking at the lots, and I started calling the developer, right? So I talked to the developer, and he stated that already, if you look down here, there's a new home right here, lot 99. He is not living there yet. It's being built right now. It's being finished right now, but they've got they put in a pool that's already over the line, like a foot over the line back here on lot 99, so the reason I go there is because if we don't come in here and raise our hand and say, hey, I'm in opposition here, then you start building, and then nobody goes in and backs the building up, right? You gotta stand up for yourself. So I'm in opposition.
Okay, thank you, Wade.
Thank you.
Board, questions for either Deborah or Wade?
Can I ask a question of Brian?
Yeah.
Are the lines we're looking at, because according to this, their driveway is on his property, the way this is projected. Is this not accurate?
Yeah, so we always say our GIS mapping software is not a survey by any means. Those are, and Jim may have a little bit better of an idea of how those are laid over there, but they are not, and we always tell people that.
Well, back to the last one. What we're looking at was the pool area, and I noticed the pool area shows that it's beyond the red line, but the red line also goes beyond to the next driveway. So right. These are not absolutely accurate.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else in opposition? Okay, you'll have time for a rebuttal if you'd like to come back and speak to the opposition.
So, just a couple things I'd like to clarify. When I bought the lot behind me, I did have a professional surveying company come out, and I submitted that to the city. And it's actually had to go through the process of changing the back lot of my house. So my new lot, the one you're looking at here in the red, acquired some of the lot I bought behind him so I could put the pool in. And I had that surveyed, it's attached to the deed of the house. Official survey is on record. There are people talking about the pool here. They say I built my pool in someone else's land. There are people living there. I have talked to them. And I've actually showed Clay Jones and emailed the builder where there was a stake done at the a property line stake that was put in to shows where I am not on their land. And I have not had a complaint from the people that actually live in that house. They're actually really nice and we get along. Trying to think what else was brought up. As far as square footage, I submitted a square footage, 2,900. I showed up the blueprint. It was almost 3,000. I don't have it in front of me, but it was almost a little under 3,000 for my first and second floor. I have finished my basement, and I wouldn't say the total was 4,700, 4,751, including my basement. And the architect sent me 1,621, so it's less than half of what I currently, if you include my basement. Also, if you think about it, my new house would be 6,372. There are many houses in my neighborhood bigger than that. The first house you pull in my neighborhood is 7,591 square foot. There's over half a dozen, I could give you the addresses, that are over 6,000 square foot. So I'm not the only house, big house in the neighborhood. There's bigger houses than mine with the additions. That's all.
Okay, thank you. And for opposition, if you want to have rebuttal, this would be time for any rebuttal for you.
I stand by what I said, that I don't.
You have to, if you want to speak, you got to come forward.
Sorry. It is a neighborhood with a lot of large houses. I stand by what I said, but I'm not aware of any that have 6-car garage. And that would be on the side where our garage is, where our driveways meet. So I stand by that statement.
Okay, thank you. Any final words? Anything else? Good. Okay. Board questions for anybody in the audience? All right, I'm going to close the floor, and we'll open it up for general discussion. Any discussion?
Well, I guess I should ask something of the staff as far as any restrictions on total square footage on a lot this size. So as long as you're within the boundaries, you could fill the whole lot with house.
As long as you're within the setbacks, except for a variance, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there aren't any minimums or maximums on sizes. Now, whether there's a deed restriction on that, I don't know, but not in our regulations.
Yeah, so I guess my comments to the board is I'm actually okay with the side yard setbacks, but I'm not okay with the rear yard setback. That just seems pretty significant or egregious as far as the regulation's 25. He wants it 7. That's 18-foot variance. That just seems pretty significant. So I'm not in favor of this application, specifically for the rear setback.
Can I ask if the vacant lot at 6813 is part of Summerfield? Is it also part of the subdivision? The one that's behind it being affected by and it's an empty lot, it's not built on? To me, that's potentially, for someone looking at that lot and having something within 7 feet of its boundary
That's exactly
line.
right.
That's my sticking point.
Okay, any other discussion? And if not, I'll call for a motion.
I'll make a motion. I'm sorry. Motion to deny docket OC 23-005 for the side and rear yard setback variances for proposed additions to an existing structure located at 7006 Newstead Court, Crestwood. The reason to deny would be that the extent of these additions would alter the essential character of the general vicinity because it just gets too close to the boundary lines.
Okay. Do I have a second? Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's been denied. And the last one.
Docket OC 23-006. An application has been filed requesting a variance for the number of signs allowed for the Goodwill Industries Donation Center at 6400 West Kentucky Highway 146, Crestwood.
Good morning. My name is Brian Fogel, Assistant Director, Oldham County Planning and Development. I'm here to explain the requested variance in the number of signs for the Goodwill Industries Donation Center located at 6400 West Highway 146. Basically, what they're requesting are 2 additional ID signs that would be installed on the wall. Presently, they have a freestanding monument sign located along Highway 146 and 1 wall sign, and they're proposing 2 additional wall signs. The ordinance is written that you're only allowed 2 major ID signs, so that's the requested variance. The additional square footage that they're requiring with the 2 new ID signs does not exceed their total number of allowable signage. This is just showing the zoning map for the area that they are in a commercial area. There's an aerial photograph. The aerial photograph is from last spring, so it doesn't reflect the fact that there's now a 15,000 square foot donation center there with the associated other site improvements. This is a picture of the building taken a couple days ago. So the existing sign is this freestanding monument sign right here, and this wall sign, which identifies it as the Goodwill Donation Center, where they're proposing to install 2 additional ID signs. One would be right here, and I'll show you a drawing of that here in just a second. The other one is actually just around the corner of the building here, where it's oriented towards the traffic that would be traveling eastbound on Highway 146. So there you can see where the 2 proposed additional signs. This is the one that's proposed on the front of the building, and this is one that is proposed on the side of the building to advertise towards the traffic traveling eastbound on 146. Just a brief history of the property. In June of 2021, they received site and landscape plan approval. They pulled their building permits in August of 2021. In September of 2022, they got the sign permit for the freestanding monument sign, and then in November of 2022, they got the sign permit for the existing wall signage. Notification has been given to adjoining property owners and in the local newspaper. And then in summary, they're asking for a variance in the total number of identification signs. And then just as recommended condition of approval, if you all approve the request, is that it is specific to today's presentation.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Questions for Brian?
Yeah, the sign that you showed in the actual photo, that's in the front of, yes, that first sign closest to the driveway, is that a 2-sided, no, I'm sorry, the one,
This one?
yes, is that a
Okay.
2-sided sign?
It is a 2-sided sign.
So so traffic can actually see it
From either direction.
either direction?
Yes.
Okay.
Just for my own education, there are no city ordinances on signage in Crestwood?
The city of Crestwood goes by the county ordinance.
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thanks, Brian.
Okay.
All right, if we can have the applicants come forward.
Good morning. I am attorney for Goodwill Industries applicant. I'm Don Williams, First and Main Street, LaGrange, Kentucky. I'll be introducing a spokesperson, and that is Lloyd Graves of Signarama Company, who constructs and takes design and builds the design of these signs. I also have real estate director for Goodwill Industries, John Barnett, here, if we need him as well. But I think the previous application was with Lloyd Graves from Signarama, who has previously presented, I think, these signs before. And now we're seeking the variance, of course, and for various reasons. But I would have Mr. Graves speak next when you're ready.
Okay, thank you. We're ready if you want to bring them forward.
Lloyd?
Good morning, soon to be afternoon. My name
Lloyd, yeah, let me get you sworn in, Lloyd.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. When we first, well, before this was even a building there, we called the city when they were breaking ground to see what would be allowed as far as square footage on the building. And at that time, we were told that they would be allowed 150 square feet, not just 2 signs. And what we typically do whenever Goodwill or any other client calls us about signage, we either pull the sign code from that municipality to see what's allowed and then draw up proofs, or if we can't find it, then we call that municipality. So as the building was completed and we submitted plans for the permitting, we were told that they were approved by the lady that does the permitting. Then about a month later, after we started production of the signs, got a call back saying, no, I made a mistake. Not approved. You're only allowed 2 wall signs, right? And the monument signs approved. So we proceeded with the permit. We asked how we could get the signs that we originally quoted Goodwill and started building once we were told they were approved, and they said we had to go through this variance process. So the signs that Goodwill is asking for, they're not excessive or any different than any other location that Goodwill has around the state of Kentucky. And we've been doing signs for them for better than 10 years now. So all we are asking for is a remedy to the issue that we have of putting the signs on the building. And as you ride up and down 146 there, or even directly across the street, there's a Verizon Center that has signs on every side of the building. Or there is a storage facility less than a mile down the road that has quite a few signs on the same facade. You know, and of course they may have come before you all and got variances for those things. So all we're asking for is to brand the building as best that we can, because what we find is when Goodwill donation centers look the way they look and are branded the way that they're branded, people donate more so that Goodwill can prosper and help people, not just in Crestwood, but throughout the state of Kentucky. And they do a lot of good in the state of Kentucky. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Lloyd. Hang on, stay right there. Any questions for Lloyd? All right, I do. So you had said that you were told that you can have up to 150 square feet?
Yes,
is that
sir.
correct, of signage?
Mm-hmm.
And am I correct in that the current, oh, wait a minute, the current wall sign is 17 square feet?
Yes.
Correct? When you said 150 feet, is that total signage?
Not
or just wall?
Just wall.
All right, just
Does
wall.
it include the monument?
All right, so what'd you just say? Because it does.
Does not include
Does not include the monument. All right, so the current one is 17 square feet, and the 2 additional ones that you're asking for are 26 and 28. Still well under the 150 square feet.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the regulation is you can have up to 2?
You can only have 2 walls, what I was told, and then it's very vague in the sign code once they pointed us to that, and when I went and read it, now it says that you can only have 2 wall signs.
Okay, and you're asking for a total of 3?
A total of 3.
Of wall signs, yeah.
There's one present.
Okay, so I thought I'm reading here where you're asking for a variance for 2.
Well, there's already 1.
Yes.
If I can, just to make help clear
Did
things
you
up.
see where I'm going?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so the ordinance says any site is allowed 2 ID signs. And then the business decides, do they want them to be 2 wall signs or 1 freestanding sign and 1 wall sign?
There we go, okay.
Okay, so this past fall, Goodwill got the permits for the 1 wall sign and the 1 freestanding sign. So they've hit their cap of 2 identification signs.
Okay.
Now, with wanting to brand the Goodwill site with 2 additional signs, that's the variance request before you all, is for a 3rd and 4th ID sign. But in terms of the total square footage for the signage, they're well under their cap there. So it's just a variance request for the number of ID signs.
Okay.
For my own education, a monument is not considered 2 signs.
Yes, but our ordinance is written as such that when you calculate the square footage, you only use 1 side.
Okay. Thank you.
That was a good
See,
thought, yeah.
that's where I learned something new there, because when you read the ordinance, it does not read like that to the regular layperson that's reading that.
All right, any other questions for Lloyd? You had stated, you mentioned Verizon. You said there's, they've got a sign on multiple sides. Yeah, I mean, I wish we had a picture of the area of just the signage of the area. I mean, I obviously know this area very well, but I'd like to see a picture. All right, thanks, Lloyd.
Thank you.
It would probably benefit the board if the real estate manager, director of Goodwill Industries, John Barnett, came up and explained the purpose of why he's seeking this variance.
Okay.
And how it would benefit customers as well as it's also to benefit people who pull in, and instead of darting out to another structure, they'll know it's the Goodwill Industry. If Mr. Barnett would walk up here. And it won't take long. I know Mr. Mr. Combs there is wearing out on us.
Good afternoon. Do I need to swear in?
Yes, you do.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
The purpose of, I'm sorry. Oh, John Barnett, business address 1325 South 4th Street, Louisville, Kentucky, 40208.
Okay. And I'm sorry, if you can talk into the mic.
I'm sorry.
Just-
Do I need to repeat that, or is?
No, we're
okay.
good.
I'm the Director of Property and Facilities for Goodwill Industries of Kentucky. We have 67 locations across the state. We've built probably 40 in the last 10 years.
And I'm sorry, just speak up.
I apologize.
The mic is very difficult.
Okay. So we have 67 retail locations across the state, and we try to follow the same template. And the ordinances vary, so we use the calculations provided. If we had known, if we had understood it differently, we probably would have put the sign in a different place. You can see, it's probably on your screen there also, how we centered it around the entrance. That's to identify to the customers how to enter the store. Honestly, we would prefer a pole sign, but of course that's not allowed here, so we did the monument sign. But we were under the impression that we would have multiple locations to sign. We have traffic coming both way on 146, so we're trying to pick up and let people know we're there. There's another sign at the donation canopy, but that is strictly to direct traffic once they're onto the site. Signage is important. It brings people in. Actually, I'll share with you that the day we opened in Crestwood, it was our most successful day in Kentucky ever. So we made an investment and moved from one location to the other, and we're happy to be there, and hopefully we can be granted this variance. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Great. Okay, questions? Okay, thank you.
Sir. Thank you.
Lloyd, yeah?
I apologize for not taking pictures of the other signs that I talked about, but I did a quick Google Earth search of just the Verizon, and they have 4 signs on
Tell you
their
what,
lot.
if you want to put that down on the, yep, right there. Now, how can we submit that into evidence, into the record?
Anywhere in front of the board or commission or somebody, I can't remember exactly, but I remember them being at the podium, so I'm not sure that that's what.
Yeah.
So this is facing Goodwill, and there's 2 signs there, and then you can see the pole sign in the background. And I'm going to swivel around to the other side of the building. and there's a third sign. So there's one on this side, one on the other side, and one facing east, plus the pole side. So that's 4.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Lloyd. All right. Questions? Board, any email or calls or any other?
We did receive one, a brief email yesterday afternoon, just raising the concern that it seems like it's a lot of signage, but nothing more specific than that.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, Lloyd, do you have something else to say? Did I cut you off? Okay, all right. And nobody's here to speak in favor or opposition. Board, questions for anybody? Okay, I'm going to close the floor, open it up for discussion.
On paper, I thought the same thing. Why do they need 2 more signs? But in looking at the pictures, it doesn't seem excessive to me. It seems completely reasonable. I honestly, this was a good presentation because it clarified any of my my concerns, and I would not have any problem with this.
Yeah, I agree. I thought, exactly the same thing. A lot of signs up and down, and we're adding a couple more, and but hearing the presentation, I'm in support.
I have a question as far as the standard we're setting, because I have no doubt it's a Goodwill store. The monument sign covers the eastbound and the westbound traffic, and I don't really agree with the justification that, well, Verizon has it, so we should have it. I question where the restrictions were on Verizon, because just because we made one mistake doesn't mean we should make more mistakes. And I don't see any value to that one sign on the front of the building, because you've already got signs right there in the front. And as far as the westbound traffic on that far side, I don't see that the monuments being covered. There's obviously no mistaking that it's a Goodwill store, because they had their first day was a record day in the state of Kentucky. So personally, I don't support it. I think there's plenty of signs already. Not that I don't support Goodwill, I just don't support this question.
Great, thank you. Very valid points. Charles, you got anything, or you good?
No,
Yeah, talking to the mic.
No, I'm for supporting the signs.
All right. Okay, I'm ready for a motion.
All right. Motion to approve OC 23-006, requesting a variance for the number of signs allowed for the Goodwill Industries Donation Center at 6400 West Kentucky Highway 146 in Crestwood. This variance will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare, and will not alter the essential character of the general vicinity, will not cause a hazard or nuisance to the public, and will not allow an unreasonable circumvention of the requirements of the zoning regulation, because the signs are not excessive and are within the square footage restrictions.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Opposed.
It's been approved. Yes.
Ryan had a question about officers. Ron Funk has been appointed to the Oldham County Water District, so he is no longer going to be on the Board of Adjustments. Fiscal Court on Tuesday appointed another member.
Bill Furco.
Bill Furco, thank you. I was having a moment there. Will elect officers. Ron was vice chair, and of course, it's time to, this is the month we would normally do chair and vice chair, so let's wait until we have a full complement. Good?
Okay, good.
We have applications coming? We'll have a meeting next month.
Minutes, everybody got last month's minutes? Any changes? Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the minutes?
Second? I'll second. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, minutes approved. Any other business? The only thing I can think of is I think we need to either have training or at least discussion about the Supreme Court decision and what that means for short-term rentals.
I'm not sure whether we have that during the existing case.
No, right.
Yes.
Right, I agree. That's what I'm
right.
saying. I think we need to have some sort of discussion or training on that.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. All right, anything else? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Can I get a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Meeting adjourned.